Hello, everyone. Jess Claire here with Tom Forts Mayer. I've just realized I haven't even gone into raw, reel, and amplify. This is who I am. But everyone who's jumping on tonight, we're going to explore something pretty cool. Where do I even begin, Tom, on tonight's discussion? For those of you jumping on, please do say hello. We are out to explore something pretty cool. If anyone is interested in integrity, I'm interested in integrity, alignment. I should have put alignment in there, and really distinguishing and determining this difference between what we see as integrity and alignment versus manipulation and control. I've been accused a lot of needing control under the guise of integrity, and, you know, manipulating my own life under the guise of alignment, you know. And I was interested to explore and distinguish this as a difference. But just before we get into that, Tom, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us why you're here, what we're doing here, while I do what I need to do on my socials.
Well, now for a few months, right, you and I have been having these conversations. And
we have.
And so the last 20 years, I've just been obsessed with the human condition, what makes us happy, what gets in the way of our happiness, and what it is to be fully self-expressed and how that impacts on others and how we have to manage that. And so lovely to see Andrea and Mary and Marta here with us, and how people are jumping on. And so, yeah, I'm passionate, you know, about understanding how we can be really true to who we are and be in relationship, and how we manage the inevitable compromises that go with that, and maintaining our sense of self-expression, and how we can navigate that with partners who are kind of on that same path. Hey, Christina. Hey, Holly. Nice to see you.
Hey, guys. And like, if you are jumping on, we are across a couple of platforms here. So if you are jumping on, please do leave us a message. We think this is a very important conversation. I certainly do. I've grappled with it all week. So I'm Jess Claire. Again, we've had this conversation. I run a channel called Raw, Reel, Amplify. I'm about turning everyone into I say entrepreneurs, business leaders, pretty much anyone into someone that runs humanity-led initiatives. So this is the opportunity tonight to explore something that people don't explore, and use us and use ourselves as the, I don't know, I say as the experiment to watch what the human process goes through, because I have no answers here, but I'm gonna tell you my thoughts on all of this and what I'm grappling with about this. Does that sum it up pretty well?
Yeah, I think that's a starting point. Why don't you put us on the map here?
Put us on the map.
Yeah, with regards to our starting point, and just for people watching this who haven't watched us before, we're not interested in kind of exploring things from the idea of the known. We obviously have our experiences and we have our training, we have our understanding, but I'm really interested in the fact that we're really open to exploring this and entering into the unknown. So what we call evolution solutions. We're like exploring topics from the idea of like, how might we be wrong? How might we be prejudiced? How might we be privileged? How might we be absolutely deluded? And therefore kind of really in a loving context, have the space to explore things, almost think aloud and see where we get to. So bear with us whilst we find our way. Yes.
I'm mad at you, Tom. I'm angry at you. I'm so fucking angry at you. Oh my God. I knew it. I never break my word. Well, that's not true. I break my word all the time, but I mostly keep my word around things that really matter to me. And I said that I was going to be single, and you slowly groomed me to not be single. And I broke my word, and it didn't work out. And I pretty much highlight here, you know, hello, Emma. Saw your name come up. I want to highlight here that This is in no way talking about any of my exes or who I've been with or who I haven't. I mean, I do nothing but honor who they are. I love them, everyone I've been with. This is really about my inability to maintain relationships, right? And I knew that I'm an absolute failure at making my relationships work. And I said, I'm just going to be single for a year just to take some pressure off. And then I got into a new one and it didn't work out. And so now I'm just angry at you, and I knew I shouldn't have listened.
Well, there's so much learning there, right? So much learning of being your own authority, not listening to me, definitely. But also, you know, maybe this is a cop out from my side, you know, maybe you had to go again on this to really realize what you actually need at this moment in time, and to explore, you know, these important topics, you know. One thing I've seen is, and I'm kind of really mindful of it, is that if you're in the area of evolving consciousness, then it would seem that the universe doesn't bring us grace and ease, because then we'd learn nothing, we'd have nothing to share. So your process is so valuable to everybody here that, you know, I'm very grateful, and I really hear you. I really hear you. You know, I definitely encouraged you to go with your heart and to jump in. And there was other logic and there was other intelligence operating in you, which was calling for a different approach. And I definitely encouraged you to override that. So I hear you.
I did. I broke my word. You encouraged me to break my word.
Yes, I did. I did. You did. Your word. I am also encouraging you to recognize that making a word around what your heart would choose to do isn't necessarily the right way to go for simplicity. So I'm not saying that your commitment to yourself was wrong. Definitely not. It might have been proven to have been really, really healthy for you. But when you uttered it, my system contracted. Like, I don't, you know, the idea that one would choose to be closed down to love for a year seems to me to be something else is being called for, and I don't know what that is, but it's like we have to be really careful with our commitments.
Sonia says, stop blaming Tom. Coughing out. Yeah, that's right. I need someone to blame now. That's very conscious, isn't it?
Well, I think what's helpful is to express what you're doing is you're expressing how you're feeling, right? And we can get to the truth of your responsibility like through the process. But I'd much rather you express to me that you're harboring feelings that you take responsibility for, and at the same time, the feeling is that it was my fault and that you shouldn't have listened to me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Oh, it wasn't just you. It was a lot of people, right? It was a lot of people. They were like, oh, you know, just do it, just do it. And, you know, I looked back on it, and this is the realization, right? I went from, I knew I shouldn't have broken my word. I knew I shouldn't have. This is such a bad idea. You know, I should have trusted my instincts. I should have. And this is why I wanted to talk about integrity versus control, right? What I got is that I created that word because I actually had a belief that I could never have a really good relationship. And I also know I very much, when I love someone, I give everything. Like, I'm like, here's my heart, my soul, have it all. And I've got new levels of that recently because I've done a lot of work in intimacy. And so it was so concerning for me to go into anything. I wanted to avoid the risk of it. So I knew to avoid the risk, I could just create, because I'm very good at keeping my word, very good at honoring it. Integrity means everything to me. I am very clear when I say integrity. You know, people have different. What I mean is, for me to be in alignment. You know, I talk about integrity as, for me to be in alignment, my fullest alignment, where I'm absolutely clear that this is a, you know, some people say it's knowing the fuck yes. You know, this is it. This empowers me. This is what I want.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I created this word called, I'm going to be single for a year, more to go, I really want a great relationship and I suck at them, so I'm going to put this constraint on myself. However, the idea of having a break from screwing up a relationship was actually quite empowering.
Well, of course, right? I mean, go and live in a monastery and feel enlightened. That's easy, right? You know, I mean, it's like I'd much rather you fuck up 5 relationships and then get more breadcrumbs as to the path back to your open heart. You know, it's like, let's find out why. You know, what did you do? What's going on? What's this idea that you can't have a relationship? I mean, all you're just going to do is going to delay it for a year and then jump back in and fuck it up again.
That's so funny. If you are jumping on, please do make comments. This is great. I love it.
Yeah.
You're not in your feminine. That's the missing. Of course. If I could just be in my feminine, everything will work out. Yes, I love that. Sonia, you make me laugh. Yes. And I sort of came back to that today. I was so angry at you. I was. And it wasn't just you. It was like everyone. I was like, if everyone stood for me, keeping my word and keeping me in alignment, then this wouldn't have happened and la, la, la. But really what I realize is, you know, and I would like to talk about this in a bit more depth, is not everyone creates word like I do either. Like I actually do set goals for myself, like challenges, like games. That's how I run my business, right? I create games. So I set myself challenges.
Well, I mean, listen, if you want, I mean, listen, there is a intervention in relationship dysfunction, which is close to what you're talking about, but you didn't go that far. So if you want to go that far, then I would honor that, right? But that isn't what you were doing, right? Now everyone's got to find their own way, but there are loads of models out there that believe if we have a pattern of dysfunction in our relationships, it is advisable to have a period where we are not engaging in relationships. But that also includes, you know, not fucking people. You know, it's like with the human heart and with the glorious people you're going to attract and connect with, you start being sexual with them, you're going to fall in love. And if you fall in love and then you deny yourself love, that's the conflict. It's like, if you truly want to take some time to heal, to look at your dysfunctional patterns and how you relate, then it's like, truly take a break. Truly. Is that
what therapists actually recommend?
I will tell you that there are therapeutic models that recognize if you have dysfunctional behavior, that could be within the brackets of addiction to the drama of dysfunction, then one of the steps, I'm not saying I recommend it, but one of the steps is to step away completely. And this often naturally happens anyway. Like Sonia was saying that she had, how did she describe it? I opted out without realizing, you know? Yeah, I opted out of dating for 2 years unknowingly, right? So the universe does it to us anyway sometimes, right? Where it's like, yeah, no, you're bringing the wrong mix. Let's help you recalibrate and reboot. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's very, very difficult to do the healing that you're talking about whilst you're kind of having absolutely conscious, mega tantric, you know, like beautiful sensual sex with individuals, you know, who are glorious. It's like, that is going to get messy, as you've just described, because you want to kind of go deep with people, you want to be single, but you want to be committed, and you don't want other people to be connecting with other people whilst you're doing it. It's very hard to hold a line of integrity in that, not to be your word, because having integrity around your word is just doing what you say you're going to do, but having integrity to what's truly right for you, that's a different thing. So,
well, see, this is what I've spent the last week on. I'm getting all messed up about integrity, right?
Yeah.
Because I realized I actually had integrity like this knife up against my throat. If you don't have integrity, it's all going to screw up and you're going to die, and it's never going to work out, right? So I was like, I know it, you know, but not everyone thinks and relates to integrity like that. What I got is that I've discovered so much about alignment.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the best way to describe this, and I'm just going to say it because I thought, how am I going to explain this, is there's this one, you know, I'm indoctrinated into the landmark cult. And I've done a lot of work in Landmark. I led some of their programs, and I can't get out the learnings I got out of that program. Okay, so this is not my distinction. This is a Landmark distinction. But one of the things they said is that integrity is the state of being whole, complete, sound, unbroken, and perfect. It's an experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and when I think of alignment, I think that is the experience of alignment.
Yeah, Spinoza said that blessedness is not the reward of virtue, it's virtue itself, right? When we are in alignment with our integrity, it feels so good that it's a self-referencing, self-perpetuating kind of reality, right? And that we would not trade our virtue or our blessedness for anything, because to be out of alignment is like being an exile to our soul, right? And so I totally get that. And yet the more work I've done, the less rigidity I bring in terms of rules to that. So it's way more easy to be fluid and way more easy to be responsive and spontaneous, and way less needing any level of control, because, you know, it's like if we're making like year-long commitments to the way our heart is going to work, we're going to run into some challenges around our integrity, because it's like, I don't know, especially if you're within that, you know, trying to be single and also have really conscious, connected sexual moments, you know, it's like, and ask those people whilst you're exploring with them not to do that with other people. I mean, the whole thing gets really messy when you're trying to put rigidity and structure around your integrity and linking it to spirituality, which is massively around spontaneity and freedom. And this is why people are kind of, you know, where this is the feminine masculine thing, you know, it's the difference between fluidity, spontaneity, responsiveness, you know, and a wide open heart available to all connection. And then structure and rules and safety. And some of that is beautiful because it creates the security we require to surrender into things. And at other times it verges over to a control which suffocates freedom and strips the very joy from life.
Yes. And look, I'm distinguishing whether I'm doing that or not, right? And I think after today, you know, I had a friend who, you know, you have these friends, I call them my wise friends, that seem to just be able to create clarity, get rid of the fog, bring you grounded. And that was what happened. I had a call with him today, my bestie. And hello, Jess Palmer. Hello, beautiful Jess Palmer and Holly. And whoever said damn straight, I'd love to know who you are. I can't see. It says Facebook user. And Kylie, thank you for tuning in. You know, maybe I do try and control things. And, you know, I said that would have the state of alignment. But alignment for me, and I'd be curious to know, and this is like the difference between manipulation and control, is what's in integrity for me is growth. I'm also a massive experimenter. Like I feel like my life is an experiment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also, I'll put it this way, I also, in terms of soul purpose, if we're going to call it that,
Listen,
sorry.
On that point, I was just laughing because somebody called you a massive control freak, but it's like the truth is at the edge of consciousness, right? If we get beyond our personal sense of self, our spirituality, which is when we're connected to the singular field of conscious awareness, it's always on the edge of expansion and possibility. And we are the universe's experimentation. We are the universe's attempt to find balance, and we are the universe's attempt to remember its divine nature. So when we get more self-conscious, we feel like our life is a laboratory, and every day is a reflection mechanism of how close to the divine oneness that we are, you know. And it's like, and so that's why I get very uncomfortable around rigidity and rules and commitments that might last a year. You know, it's like, stay single for a year. I'm like, suddenly, you can place restraint and constraint on yourself and develop creatively within that. Of course, sometimes obstructions are the greatest source of evolution, but for me, that seemed to me like you were trying to avoid pain. Now, there is a place where, as I said, where actually we recognize we are bringing dysfunctional patterns to our relating, but then it's good to just cut it out completely and, develop a healthy sexual relationship with yourself, but in other ways, not be sexual with other people. It gets very messy.
At the time, I was really clear when I made the commitment to myself that I was going to be single for a year, which was in January. I'll have you January, like very early in January. Obviously 6 months later, the universe was going to throw what I call everything you need to learn. Of course it was. And this is what I got with my awesome friend today, right? My awesome friend today said to me, we distinguish this thing called, in life, there's people that play to win, and this is kind of like I call our conditioning. We're here to play to win the home, to win the car, to win the relationship, to win, right? This is all tied up in ego. What I'm talking about, it's almost unconscious. It's like we're here to win, looking good, and having it all together and being polished and professional, and at least making everyone believe that we've got it made, that we're here to win that game. And if we go down and die with everyone thinking that we've got it together, and then we've somehow mastered our own reaction in such a way that people like constraint and control and never experiencing negative emotions, we've made it. That's called winning. We've won life. That is what I call being someone that's playing winning at life.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
There's an end point of peace, right?
Yeah, except it never is until you're dead, right? Because there's so much anxiety and constraint and like keeping up appearances. And, most of the people in my programs, your masks say, oh my God, it's like exhausting keeping this all up. But that is what I'm calling playing to win.
Got it.
Okay.
I accept that.
Yeah. Okay. And then there's the people that try that and fail dismally. So they're just losing, right? So they're like, oh my God, I try to keep up appearances, but I just get too reactive. And I'm like, everyone's a fuckwit. And I'm like so annoyed. Right. And they play, but they lose because they lose at winning the game.
Yeah.
Right. They lose. And I was one of those people, before I did all my work, I was a loser. Like I was so reactive and annoyed. And why is everyone such a fuckwit? And just so annoyed at everything. So that's playing to lose. Well, you play to win, but you lose a lot, right? And then here's what I realized. I cannot stop being this way, and it drives me crazy. I play for the sake of playing. I play, to experiment, for the joy of playing a game to see if I can win, and it's not guaranteed, and that's okay. No attachment. I risk myself. I take on something as big as, I'm unapologetic about this. I'm out to shift what it is to be a leader on this planet. And I can talk about what I think leadership is. And for me, what is aligned is this burning freaking desire to go out and experiment on what that even means and explore it. Because I could say, I don't have an answer. I've discovered a lot while I've explored this. It's all an experiment, but I'm playing this game called shifting what it is to be a leader. Because right now, what it is to be a leader is not what I would say leadership is. right? So I play this game, and part of that is creating a relationship for myself that is 100% fully accepting of what it is to be human. And when I say that, what I mean is I have my own feelings. No one else feels what I feel. I have this feeling. So I'm playing this game called 100% what it is to be human, right? In a relationship. I want this delicious little partner. I've got this idea in my head, treats me like it's just a queen and knows that I'm really standing for integrity, and I'm playing all these games and I try and I fail and I cry, and then I have moments where I'm like, Tom, I can't believe you did that to me. And then I'm like, the next moment I'm like on the phone to Jess Palmer going, oh, this is shit. And then the next moment I'm like happy as, and I'm creating something. And then the next moment I'm like something else. And the next moment I'm like transforming someone's life and someone's business. And the next moment it's like what it is to be human is to play. And there's all these emotions that come with it. And there is no consistency. The only consistency there is in being human is this communication we have to just listen and get curious and wonder and love and see and receive and feel.
See, all of that I love, right? I love all of that. I'm totally aligned with all of that. And yet none of that fits with, right, and I'm going to be single for a year.
Yeah.
None of that. None of that. It's like, fuck it. No, break your heart wide open again and again and again. It's like, don't just, it's like it the relationships that we attract in and the relationships that we mess up, all of these are the most powerful way of working out, where am I still holding on to pain? Where am I still holding on to expectations? Where am I still judging myself? Where am I still not allowing myself to be fully self-expressed? It's like love is the greatest healer, and our failings or supposed failings there are the greatest mirrors on our unexpressed potential, our unexpressed hopes. And what you mentioned was, as you've been exploring, it's like what it exposes that we have all these strategies based on the fact that deep down we don't believe that it's going to happen, that we don't believe that we're worth it, and that we don't believe that we're going to be able to maintain it or manage it.
Yeah. I think when I think about why I created this, it became a game to play for me. It's like I've been playing the game of relationship, and it's like I'm dating the same person in a different body every time.
I hear that, right? And I hear
that,
you. I think your heart's calling for a different game, right? Which is actually not being in relationship for a while, right? And that's definitely a valuable game to play. It's a high growth game, right? It's about developing a romance with yourself, a romance with your own sexuality. It's like, well, then, mixing that up by having intense, loving sexual experiences with people along the way is going to really get in the way of that. I would go abstinence then, proper abstinence. You really want to go and play that game. Look at how you feel about that. How does that feel? How able are you to be in relationship with yourself directly, sexually, spiritually, emotionally, without requiring anything external? Because if you are craving that game, I think you weren't playing that game fully.
I was not.
And I'm with Jess here. It's like, for me, it's like, the more work I've been doing, the less I want to be identified with my personality, the less I want to be identified with my strategies, the less I want to make any commitments about where I'll be or what I'll be. Now I'm having to journey with that with 4 children, and the fact that I see all these people in flipping Bali having all these wild, spontaneous experiences, and I'm like, so how does my spirituality and my spontaneity feel expressed in a world where I'm actually like pinned down by compromise?
So I'm curious about this, right? Because is pinned down by compromise just a resistance to control? Is it just the opposite? Is it like, okay, I mean, to actually really, I personally collapse alignment and commitment.
Uh-huh.
Alignment and commitment are really close for me.
Wow, I'm not sure how that would work. Let's talk about it.
So when I hear someone go, you know, and I'm just going to say this, for anyone who gets offended, it's fine. You can say something about it. It's like, oh, just be in flow. I'm like, is that just a nice way of saying you're just going to be a leaf in the breeze in this life? Well, I just go with life and let it take me wherever. No commitment. See what happens. Hopefully it works out. Oh, someone's treating me like shit. Oh, that's okay. Just send them love.
Listen, any practice and any strategy has a shadow, right? So you can have complete non-committal spiritual bypassing bullshit in the name of freedom and flow, right? Of course, right?
Yeah.
Of course, right? But that doesn't mean that being free to go with what's being called for. Yes, you could be blown about by the wind and other people's opinion and be just some flaky ass bullshit. But actually, ultimately, trusting in the edge of consciousness and trusting in what's being called for more and more, and getting out of your personal way, and getting out of the sense of your identity and the sense of your conditioning, and freeing ourselves from all of those things, primarily also the fear that drives all of our kind of competitiveness, territorialness, jealousies, aggressions. It's like processing all that stuff from our trauma past so that we can truly meet the present moment with freedom and then notice what's being called for. It's like, I am in a place of great commitment with 4 kids, and that I can't just go wherever I want, whenever I want. But within that, I've sometimes gone to situations and I'm going there and I'm like, why am I going there? Why am I going to meet with this person? There's a whole bunch of things that could happen, which would mean that I'd be out of integrity or I don't want to do. And I'm like, but I know I still have to go. And I go and I'm curious what's being called for here. And then amazingly, in a number of different things that occur, it's just completely fine. Nothing awful or bad happens. But it's like, I'm not controlling that, and it's not based on commitments. I'm trusting that what will be called for will be what's right, but I'm not defining what's right, and I'm not limiting what's possible.
Yeah. Look, something shifted in me today. Okay. I don't even know what it is, but I went from needing to be single, like a commitment, like I have to put a date on it.
Uh-huh.
To getting that what I was committed to was maybe not what everyone's committed to in life. And I was comparing myself to a bunch of people to go, I don't have that relationship, and I don't have that relationship, and I don't have that relationship. There's something wrong with me, right? And then what I got was, maybe I'm just super standing for what's important to me, and I don't have to put boundaries around it.
Yes. Like right now, do you want to be in a relationship?
No.
There, just go with that. When that changes, do the other thing, right? It's like, if you stay
right
true
now.
to who you really, really are, then you'll make the decisions in the present moment. But we can't make the decisions in the present moment if we're holding on to a whole bunch of shit from our past, right? It's like we have our heart is like a golden sat nav, right? And it expands and contracts based on what's true and real for us and what's best for the field of oneness that we're all this experiment in. But if we're still holding on to all of the resentments, identity, conditioning, expectations of family and culture, then that throws out the magnet in the sat nav, that throws out the operating system, and so we're blind. But if we really clear out our old pain, our old doubts, our old fears, our ideas that our needs won't be met, or that we can't have the perfect relationship, or that love is actually pain and we should avoid it, or attract people that we're not really suited to, so it will inevitably dramatically fuck up, all these different strategies we might apply, right? It's the more we can free ourselves of all of that and trust, then when we turn up and we're super present, we've got a much better chance of knowing what the hell to do.
Jess just said to me, does everything have to make sense? I mean, I want to answer that and go, no, of course not, Jess. But I do know that I am super curious. I also know that, I practiced strategy for such a long time. I feel like everything does make sense to me. It's a bit of a, and so when it doesn't, I go research and do a whole lot of stuff. This is all conditioning. Like I do get that's a whole lot of conditioning. That's just like analytical, strategic, intelligence, research, data analytics, technology, all of that stuff that I do, right? So does it have to make sense? No, in theory.
I don't know. No, but I just want you to know my imaginary lady vagina just got drier listening to that. I don't know what happened there. I don't even know how that happens. Didn't even know I had one, but I'm like, wow. It's like, God, I would just wonder how many times I've made women in my life feel that way with all of that masculine like nonsense. Wow, so convincing. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think that's the part of us that believes in strategy and control really believes that it's going to create the peace. It is actually ultimately about that idea that you talked about, the winning thing, where it's like, once we've got all of those things in place, then we will feel okay. It's this illusion that there is this kind of place to get to where all our ducks are in a row. All the plates are spinning. We don't even need to twiddle the sticks anymore. They become self-spinning plates. And there's so much of this online with the automated evergreen webinar and the funnels and all this stuff. It's like this speaks to this fantasy of like, yeah, it's hard work to set it up, but once it's set up, it will all run itself, automated, systemized, controlled, ordered, and I think it's a dangerous idea. It's a dangerous idea because nothing ever will kind of fit that. And if we could create that, I don't think it would feel good in the end either.
I don't think so either. I think you got some laughs from that lady vagina comment.
Good. But I want you to hear that, it's like, that was somehow less juicy and less glorious. That part of you is somehow making things less juicy and less glorious.
You know what? I'm just going to be really real with you.
Yeah.
I know. And that's the part of me that I find the hardest to be with. Oh.
So, but the winning part of us is really mean about the winning part getting in the way. Because it's like you're eating your own tail. So just rest in that. Just take a moment. Just rest.
And everyone that's watching, I actually have this commitment to not hide. I just got really impacted because it's like, yeah, that's the part of me I don't fucking like. And it's like always there. And I have this real desire. I don't want to get rid of it. I don't. And I'm not going to stop until I find someone that will fall in love with me the way I am, the way I'm in love with myself. And it still breaks my heart that I'm finding people who won't.
Yeah, of course. And
so
this is not about you to be able to.
No, I don't want to change, right? But I do. This is a part of me. I am strategic. I am intelligent. I am curious. I am fucking intensely passionate about big stuff. Right.
Yeah. I love that. I want to speak to something, okay? Because it's often one of the reasons why we're hard on those parts of ourselves and then want them to be loved and then struggle, and we have this kind of conflict, okay?
Yeah.
Because we put it down to conditioning, we put it down to ego. It's like, you know what? I was blessed to be lucky enough. This is going to be a bit tangential, right? But bear with me, okay? I saw these two things on TV a while ago, and they had a massive impact on me. Okay, so because I want you to it goes way, way deeper than it being dismissed or aggressed as ego, right? This is so much more to our core essence, right? Because, so I'll cover it briefly. So I saw two women trying to finish an Ironman triathlon, not one of these bullshit triathlons, like a proper Ironman one, right? You know, it was like, it's insane. It's like 4 miles swim in open water and 200-kilometer bike ride and then a marathon, right? It's full on, right? And you don't do an Ironman to win it. You do it to have finished it, right? They were on the final stretch and their bodies had given up, right? And they were like jelly. So they would take a few steps and then collapse and then stand again. And it was this most incredible, like, imagery of determination, right? And winningness, you know? And it's like, it was beautiful. They ended up, their bodies failed, they couldn't, and they actually went across the finishing line on all fours, right? And it was a beautiful thing to behold, right? All that perseverance. Then they showed the winner. There was this person that obviously they didn't look like they'd broken a sweat, right? And obviously they were buzzed because they'd just won an Ironman. They'd won an Ironman. And I thought about that person. I was like, wow, what? They could probably just put their feet up for the rest of their life now, because in the winning of winningness, right? That's the winningness, right? It's the superlative. And it was just struck to me, like, what would they be like? What would that person have to be like? They must have been a dick around training hard and pushed. They must be so driven. And I wondered what that must be like for them. And then weirdly, in the advert break, they showed this trailer for this documentary about the journey of the sperm to the egg once in the vagina. And that journey makes the Ironman look like a walk in the park. It's basically a 3-day swim uphill, right? In treacherous environment, right? And it's like, I mean, it's insane. It's an insane race. And you're not competing against 10,000 people. You're competing against 200 million competitors. Then when the sperm gets to the egg, it's like, it's there's thousands of applicants for that job, right? And your chemical chat-up line has to get access and to get through and breaks through. It's like, imagine how determined that spermatozoa was. I mean, imagine the kind of triathlon winning, like intensely ambitious, intensely driven. It's like, you are the offspring of that. That is you. You just won the most ridiculous race against 200. That's like the adult population of America. You know, it's like, it's in every one of us that made it through. It's like, we should first of all put our feet up and go, wow, we've smashed it. We've already made it. Everything else is gravy and bonus. But much more importantly, we should show extraordinary compassion to the essence of that life spark, who's just a motherfucker for winning. This is beyond ego. This is like sperm.
It is beyond ego.
Beyond ego. It's like sperm conscious. Our ego gets attached to it. But like, your essence is that crazy, crazy thing, like swimming uphill for 3 days. And it's beautiful. It wants to survive and it wants to thrive. And now, you know, you're really playing at the edge of consciousness when you talk about the fact that you want to play. You know, this is all the universe wants. This is what the divine wants. We're here to play at understanding what is it to be free? What is it to be true? I just want to honor the earnestness you bring to it, the sincerity you bring to it. It's like, I'm just, and the love you're bringing to all these parts of yourself, you know, it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, you know, and that's actually what everything you just said. I was like, you know, before, winning at being, that's right. It's a beautiful way to put it, Amber. You know, when Jess said before, do you need an answer? Because one of the things I said to my best friend today was, why is this so important to me? And he said, it just is. You don't need an answer to that. You know, just be with that it is really important to you. It's been around for ages. It's never going away. No matter what I do, no matter where I go, no matter what I put myself through, it just keeps coming back in alignment. And I'm put on a new navigational path to keep driving to get this. I've done all the attachment work. I don't even care if I win, but I'm going to play like a motherfucker for the rest of my life. And why? I don't know. I just am. And I don't need an answer to it. It just is what I'm doing.
Yeah. And the fact that you want to be seen and held and loved as you are is natural and normal, and it's your birthright. And it's just your journey to doing that for yourself, right? As you said, it's like as you connect to that part, you struggle with that part of you that wants control, and you also don't want to get rid of it, right? It's unconditionally loving all of this complexity in you, and you falling deeply, deeply, deeply in love with what you are, which I see you have, but you're just learning how to be in relationship. It's like with your unconditional love with yourself.
I'm learning how to let someone else love me the way I am.
Yeah. When we do
that's
we can't help but really feel into how hurt we are that other people didn't. Don't underestimate
that's yeah, I do get that. And one of the things I got today was, it sort of just came out of my mouth as I'm talking, this wise friend I have was, I feel like I've gotten to this place where I can't go back to unconscious love. And yet I now grieve not being able to. There was a place where I was settled being suppressed. There was a place where I could hide myself when I got angry and upset and I felt things. I could switch off. I had a strategy, because I'm strategy, got them. For I was just about to get moved, I would have a strategy for turning that off so you didn't see me. I had a strategy for hiding all the parts of me that I hated, and I was completely settled in being dominated in that way so that I could have love. Right? Now that was control and manipulation of myself. Now I've gone so far past that in terms of my own spiritual and personal development, but I'm not at a place where I'm actually getting what I want in a relationship either. I'm somewhere in the gap.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really tough.
Yeah, I just want to honor that.
It's like I can see what's behind me, and that's why my relationships are ending so quickly. It's because I can't be in them at all, and they can't be with me.
It's
not a match.
No, it's a very and it is brutal when we realize there is no turning back. There is no going back into the matrix. There is no going back to enjoy steak again. There is nowhere we can shove the red pill up Morpheus's ass and go back to our old way of relating. And the main problem is most people step out into the kingdom of spirituality with the egotistical fantasy that it will deliver bliss and glory and abundance, and it doesn't. That's not what it's for. It's not what it's about. We step into the spiritual kingdom so that consciousness itself can evolve through the pain in the lower realms of our consciousness and become more free. It does that by bringing to the surface through us as a conduit for truth fucking transformation, which generally is brackets like exquisite, excruciating fucking insanity stuff, right? And it's like we're signed up for the evolution of consciousness. That is not about personal bliss. Now, of course, when we transcend our personal needs, then we can go with the flow and enjoy great glory and great abundance and great love. But it's not easy. It's not meant to be easy. And the fantasy of the ego's idea of what spirituality will do for us and the truth of what spirituality really is fucking painful.
It's not fun. It's not a good idea, and it's not recommended. Tom's like, I would never say that.
No, I would. Like one of my favorite books is called Cutting Through Spiritual Materialism. In the preface, he's like, turn back. If you think this path is going to be easy, it's like your family won't understand you, your friends will lose clarity on what you stand for. The whole thing, everything that you hold dear will be questioned. Adyashanti's book, what is it? Yeah, The End of Your World. It's like transcending our limited sense of personality and connecting more to our loving universality breaks everything down.
It does.
I don't want to go back, but on some days emotionally, I wish I had the choice, but the choice is gone.
It is. That is actually what I'm grieving.
Yeah.
When I was like in my kitchen today, when I got to that point where I was crying that I could not go back.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to go back now. No. It's no choice. I don't even know how to be in an unhealthy relationship. And I want to be. And part of me just wants to be in a relationship just so I don't have to like go through the pain of failing at another one. And I got this today, right? I got that what I actually am standing for is so magical. You know, because who cares? Great. Okay, I can create millions of dollars. I can, I can get all this really great stuff and have money and status and power and education, and I can research shit, and I could do it. That means nothing to me. What matters to me is my relationships with people. How much intimacy I experience, how much love I bring, how I can turn moments that seem to be going off with people, how I can be in someone's presence and just by being there can bring love that they've never experienced, can bring a conversation that they never thought would happen, and that matters to me. How someone that would usually be judged for their past, they don't get judged around me.
Yeah.
How people that never felt like they matter around me. That matters to me. And so what I want is a partner that gets it. And
so the greatest transformation, I'm saying this because we have to go soon, but the greatest transformation in our love is instead of thinking about the love that we're going to receive, it's about the quality of love that we will then be able to bring through us. It's like that's the greatest cost of being single. It's not about us not getting love. It's who do we become when we've found somebody glorious enough that it wakes up our greatest capacity to love. And we seek that from other people, but the truth is it's really our relationship with ourselves. When we can get into our lovability and we can adore ourselves in principle and treat ourselves like our own beloved, then we get the gateway into the divine unconditional love. And when we get that, all we want to do is be a conduit for that for everyone. We see everyone as our brothers and sisters, and we bring light and love everywhere we go. And within that, then a relationship is a bonus. It's not a source of anything.
I know. That's what I'm confronting. Yeah. I know you have to go, Tom.
I love you so much. Yes, I love these conversations. I love you. I love your earnest desire for freedom, and you deserve to be absolutely adored for who you are, because you are adorable.
Thank you. My mum says so too.
Right.
I do. And big love to you. I know you have to go. Everyone watching, thank you so much. Tom has to go and support his wife. Thank you, Jess. Who else is on there? Deb, Amber, Darcy, Kylie, everyone who is watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next week, thank you for tuning in to Evolution Solutions. Thank you, Tom. Big love to you.